All right, thank you so much for staying tuned. And if you're just joining us, tonight's conversation, we're talking about economic growth versus reality. And we're asking if Nigeria's 4.23% GDP is just numbers, right, on paper. So I'd like to hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation by sending an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. The phone lines are now open. Please call on 07025007749. And also, you can call us on 0701-4242420. Let's hear what you have to say. Now, you see, the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, have said that Nigeria's economy grew by 4.23% in the second quarter of 2025. Now, that's the fastest we've had in 4 years. Officials call it a sign that reforms are beginning to pay off. But away from the numbers, right, a different story have, emerged. We're asking, this particular rise, is it reflective? You see, the World Bank estimates that nearly 39% of Nigerians still live in poverty. And in rural areas, that figure rises to over 75%. Food prices remain high, wages are stagnant, and unemployment statistics are widely disputed. For many citizens, this so-called growth is hard to see, let alone feel. So tonight we're asking, is Nigeria's growth real progress or just numbers on paper? Joining me tonight to unpack this development is Mokhtar Mohammed, the CEO of Finance with Mokhtar. And he'll be helping us, unpack all of these things and help us understand it further. Mr. Mokhtar, good evening and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Sorry for joining late. It has to do with a network issue.
That's okay. We're glad you're here anyways. And so given this new development, right, the government says that this new GDP, 4.23%, is showing us that the reforms that Tinubu's administration is bringing is eventually is paying off, right? Well, tell us how you feel about this. What do you think?
In terms of depending on where you are, in the equity market, you can say that Tinubu reform has paid you. If you are a trader and your trading is FX dependent, then you will say that Tinubu administration has not paid you. And again, if you are an ordinary Nigeria, the cost of goods and services have gone up. So definitely it will not. So when we talk about GDP, sometimes people mistake GDP to mean that you are rich or the economy is back to normal. GDP, first of all, activity of that economy. If you look at that GDP closely, you realize that we have productivity there. And what we have seen is that the oil and gas sector is not more productive. And also you can see the non-oil sector being more productive. And this GDP growth that we are seeing is as a result of the rebasing. So we've had new areas in the economy that was not there before. These are what have contributed to the GDP growth. It's a rebasing type of GDP growth. There was nothing like mining. There was nothing like the fintech added to it. There's nothing like illegal refinery, modular refinery, Dangote refinery. Oil production has gone by 1.6 million barrels compared to the last time. So all this sum of what the GDP is all about. The GDP is all about the productive nature of the Nigeria economy, or you say the productive sector of the Nigeria economy. That does not add to bringing money in the pocket of the Nigeria. What that do is that there are prospects that very soon you begin to see that evolving into the real economy, which I call the real GDP.
Okay. So, like you rightly stated, right, the non-oil sector reportedly expanded by like 3.64%. You know, it made up over 95% of that GDP. So, what does this growth really tell us about sustainable expansion beyond oil?
You see, when you look at that non-oil sector, it's very impressive, like you have found out.
Yeah.
But again, when you look at value in terms of effects that is driven into the economy, real sector is better than the non-oil sector. So what he's saying is that in terms of output that we export, the oil sector still leads in value. The non-oil sector have not been able to match up in terms of value. When I'm talking value, I'm talking about effects that with the economy as a result from the oil sector and the non-oil sector. Now, yes, is that the good news? Definitely is good news. That means we have multiple stream of income. So before now, when you have this external shock that it has a way also of affecting our economy. So now with this growth in the non-oil sector, this will also help in driving our economy. If there's any external shock that has to do with oil price. And as you know already, we are suffering from that shock because we are not even meeting our oil benchmark of about $70. Oil is about $66 up to this moment. So you can say, yes, it's good in the long run, but as it stands now, there's still a lot of work to be done in the non-oil sector. Because when you look at agriculture, we are still security. If you look at agriculture, we are still back to the value chain end of agriculture. We have to do with storage of large agricultural products so that they can be exported out of this country. There's still bureaucracy in exporting our products out of this country through the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. There's still a lot, but in terms of the crude oil or refined petroleum product, you realize that is seamless to export out of this country.
That's quite a breakdown. So now I want to ask, what structural reforms must accompany the GDP growth, to ensure it improves people's lives? Areas like agriculture, manufacturing, infrastructure, human capital. What reforms do you think we can put in place to ensure this improvement of people's lives?
Well, I think what we need to put in there is the physical side.
Okay.
What we have seen in terms of growth that everybody is celebrating, if you look critically, you realize this is like the monetary policy, how they have been able to compensation, how they've been able to bring the exchange rate, how they are now bringing down the interest rates by the cutting of rates. So all these are monetary policy too. Now the physical side, they need to do some other things. Remember, before we were talking about the 4% that have been suspended because that was the physical side. So looking at the physical side, security is still high. So we are still not going to farm. So they will make in the area of security so that we can have farmers go to farm. We also have to build infrastructure so that we can see movement of goods and services, so that this non-agricultural sector, when their products are taken out of each of this country, the cost of production will not make it expensive for people to want to buy it. Then again, you also look at the area of power. This is all about cost of production. Presently, the power is still high. So when you produce, then you have to sell at a higher cost. And if you take it outside the shore of this country, competing with others that are done at a lower cost. Those are some of the challenges that the non-oil sector is facing. Compared to the oil sector, whereby you just export straight, and then you have people that are ready, available to take it up. So that is the challenge, and that's what government need to do. Government need to see that they can improve in a lot of areas so that the policy will then help businesses to grow, especially the non-oil sector business.
Okay, so, but, aside the GDP, what indicators now should we be tracking to measure whether Nigerians are genuinely better off, apart from the GDP now?
You and I know what we should be checking. We should see more Nigerians coming to say, now we have more jobs, we have jobs.
Right.
We need to begin to see the situation, but we don't have the very rich and the very poor. We should have that middle class, which normally are the drivers of the economy.
Do we still have middle class in Nigeria?
That is what I'm saying. We don't have them.
Question.
We don't have. That's why I said what we have now is the very rich and the very poor.
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't have the middle class. So for us to begin to say our economy has grown, we need to see people move from the very poor to the middle class.
Yeah.
So that in the middle class they are the key drivers of the economy because they are the consuming class. So once you don't have that middle class to consume, definitely your economy is struggling. So that's why we will keep struggling. The middle class and no more in this country. They have all japa. So we have not been able to create another middle class because of the current economic challenges that we are having. So definitely, I totally agree with you. So when we begin to see the middle class, then we'll begin to say our economy is taking shape. Like I said sometime in one of the programs I was featuring on, I said before you begin to say effects are stabilized, it's when we can use our naira to buy goods and services outside the shore of this country.
Right.
And that's what is happening now. So definitely you now begin to see, that's why you are seeing the stability in the naira. So for us to begin to see this impact of the of GDP and others are now impacting the life of Nigerians, we need to see the middle class. We need to see Nigerians begin to earn more. We need to see Nigerians begin to consume more. And also we need to see the price of goods come down, especially food. So as it stands now, the cost of food is still high. So when we begin to see that, we can now say the economy is on the path of recovery.
Okay, so now from what you're saying, right, because I was going to ask you if this growth figure makes Nigeria, look attractive now. But from what you're saying, are you saying that we still have more structural risk compared, still being overshadowed, how do I put it? We still have more structured risk over opportunities. We don't have more opportunities. We still have risk as a nation.
Definitely, we still have risks. If you look at our current economic policy and what we are enjoying, you agree with me that we still have risks. The risks has to do with when you look at the inflation, when you look at our exchange rate, it's coming down, but it's still high. Then when you look at our level of production for consumption, you are still importing more into the country to meet up our consumption. So these are fragile stability that we are enjoying. If you look at the inflation that they are celebrating now was largely impacted by the rebasing of the economy. The same thing that we are celebrating in the GDP. Any rebasing that will not create job and bring a new player into the economy is only a mirage.
Yeah.
So after some time, the economy like you say, water will always find its level. So it definitely after some time, until the rebasing begin to attract new player in those sectors that have been opened up, and then we begin to create job, then you begin to make sense in the area of the GDP and also the inflationary pressure. Because if you look at reality on ground, if the term inflation today is about 20-something%, when you look at that, in reality to the cost of goods and services, you've not seen that reduction because we're seeing an inflation that was almost 33%. Because of the rebasing, we saw it came down to 23%. But the goods and services basically come down by almost 10%. You and I know that didn't happen. So, but that has happened. So until we get these new players and we begin to see the economy begin to expand in the area of employment and also what we talked about, getting that middle class. So it's still structurally a challenge.
Okay, we're going to go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back. We're still talking about the new figure, the growth of the Nigerian GDP to 4.23. And I have Mokhtar Mohammed still with me. Sir, good, thank you for still staying tuned. Are you still there? Mr. Mokhtar? I think we lost him. Mr. Mokhtar, are you still with us? Anyway, just before he joins us, we've been talking about how these growths, as much as the government keeps telling us, oh, that this is a step in the right direction, it shows that this administration, is still, the reforms that they've been pushing that we think is not working is beginning to pay off. But, sometimes you don't really know, like we saw the IMF a lady say earlier in our quote, she said, this growth is really not in the numbers. We can't just be looking at, I know a lot of people are like, oh, numbers don't lie. Yeah, but then also the well-being of the people don't lie. You have to get your review from the people you're leading. All right, and so it's just basic. A lot of now, like we saw earlier in the news, the labor unions are beginning to, argue and say, oh no, these things you can't tell us that there's an improvement. You can't tell us that these reforms are working when Nigerians are not feeling this growth. Nigerians are not experiencing. In fact, we're not even seeing it, let alone feeling it. Right? There is high inflation there, and then the wages are low. Like I would always say on this show, everything is going up in this country apart from the pay of people, right? So it doesn't, I don't know. I mean, we need a balance to it. And also Nigerians also have to understand that sometimes these things take time, all right? I don't know if I have Mr. Mokhtar back. Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, I can see you now. Great. I think you're muted. I can't hear you.
No, I can hear you. I'm not muted.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you for still being here. So the next thing I was going to ask you, repeated disparities between official statistics and citizens' experience, it weakens trust in these institutions. So how can the government and, independent bodies, how can they build credibility around this economic data?
I think that's a very big challenge as a country in terms of economic data. It's a very, very big challenge for us because, again, like I said, if you look at reality on ground and what we have, really, you tend to wonder where they get those figures from. But you and I know the challenge when it comes to data in Nigeria. So that data is still a challenge. But in every economy, sometimes when you see those economic things, they are always not in reality to what sometimes some people experience. But the gap is not as wide as what we are experiencing in Nigeria. I think that, for me, is the major challenge. But again, like you said in your introduction, I heard you saying it, that it will take time because we are not here overnight. We cannot get over here within the shortest possible time. So, but by and large, we are here, and we are enjoying some little stability here and there. I heard you saying that the Nigerian cost of goods have just been going up and has not come down. But now we are not seeing that hyperinflation that we used to see. I think like 6 months ago or thereabout, when you go to the market today, if you go in the morning, by the time you go in the afternoon, that same good you bought for 30 naira, 30 naira will be selling for 60 naira. But now I think we have seen a little bit stability in that space. Also, things goes up and go down in Nigeria for the first time. When this administration came to power, cost of refined petroleum product, when they came in, was about 1,200 in some places. But we are averaging 900 naira now all over Nigeria. So you can also say that we have seen cost of goods goes up and then cost of goods come down. But in reality, to touch the life of the average Nigerian, I think we are still a far cry from where we should be. But I also need to add to it that when there is reform, when you're having reform automatically takes shape sector by sector. First of all, let me give an example of this reform. When it came in, you saw that it attracted investors, especially in the equity market. You saw that reform boost investors' confidence, saw the price of goods goes up. Then you saw the manufacturing sector suffering. But now when you look at the manufacturing sector, bear in mind the result that they have presented, you will realize that that sector is not suffering like it suffered immediately when President Tinubu comes to power. So once there is a reform, first of all, investors will benefit from it, business will benefit from it through those reforms to attract more business players. Then before you begin to see the impact on the life of the people in the area of job creation, wealth creation, you begin to see those business expand into various opening up branches, expansion. So by doing that, then they are creating jobs for more Nigerians, then you begin to see the impact of the reform. So definitely reforms do not happen overnight. You do not see success of reform overnight, but over time, reforms to get that result, especially when it's followed to the latter with all sincerity and with sincerity too.
So how would the government, how would they ensure that this growth is inclusive and also durable? Durable is where I'm driving at, right? So we don't fall back to where we were. What policies, what monetary policies, fiscal policies should they put in place to ensure that this thing is both inclusive and durable?
You agree with me that monetary policy, we saw one big monetary policy yesterday when the MPC met, rate has been cut. So what it means by rate cut is that the cost of borrowing has come down, the cost of funding has come down. That's what we've been agitating for a while. So we begin to see that impact on smaller businesses and also large businesses. So that's what monetary policy have done. They've brought down rates. Now the physical side, like I said before, are the ones that have a lot to do. They have a lot to do. Cost of goods is still high because of the tariff. So are we going to see tariff reduction? Those are what they should deal with rather than increasing tariff by 4% or whatever you call it. I think tariff reduction will help drive price of goods and services down. We need to see infrastructural improvement. We need to see cut in levies, not taxes, because what we see is that a lot of businesses, especially the small businesses, they pay levies and they pay taxes. And at the end of the day, a lot of them are paying more levy than taxes. And these levies are large in number. Some businesses pay up to like 6, 7, or 10 levies. Even despite the tax reform bill that is currently on the table of Mr. President, or whether Mr. President has signed into law and will start implementation in January, it's easier for government in the local government and in the state government to collect levies rather than taxes. So that is a major challenge that is impacting negatively on businesses. So government need to work on that. I talked about cost of production. Energy cost is still very, very high. If you look at them, businesses are crumbling because, again, some of them may ban A. Even if they ban A, like they will always say, the ban A is not banding, and they are paying high costs, and they're also using diesel to power their plant. So all these are policies, and again, like I said again, insecurity. There needs to be an improvement in the area of security, so that farmers can go to farm, Nigerians can travel freely, either by rail, either by road, because again, road and rail transport still remain the cheapest means of transportation. But the situation whereby people cannot travel by those means and they have to travel by air, then they will put those costs back into the hands of the consumers, and that also will impact the price of goods and services. So I think the physical side need to do a lot, but the monetary side, like I said before, some of the results that we are enjoying now was due to what the monetary side have done thus far.
Looking ahead to 2027, right? How important is it for this administration to be able to close this gap? You know, the gap between this growth that they are praising and the lived reality of Nigerians. How can we do that? And how fast can we do that?
You and I know, I mean, you're a journalist, you know that there will not be governance in 2026.
Right. Very true.
I mean,
sadly true, if I dare
governance is
say.
2026. So all that we need to achieve it between now and December, because by next year, by February, you start having presidential primaries, electoral campaign take the center stage, governance take the backstage. So between now between now and the end of the year or before the primaries, what I just mentioned in terms of government physical side coming up with policy are what should be impacting on Nigeria. That is what will determine whether Nigeria will want to return them back to power, even if a lot of people will say, well, it doesn't matter. But I think our vote should count if we do the right thing. But I am sitting here saying that, like what I mentioned, is what they should do to bring reality. There must be jobs for Nigeria. That is very important because Nigeria needs to start having jobs. They need to begin to be able to take care of themselves. Nigeria should be able to feed themselves also. So cost of food should come down. Those are the reality. Especially, you need the basic necessity that Nigeria needs, are housing, food, and clothing. And if you look at these three things now, it's majorly a challenge, especially if you are staying in Lagos. You see the cost of housing have gone up, yes, and yet your take-home has not gone up. So those are part of the reality. Will government be building more houses to get more Nigerians to own houses and pay at a very cheaper rate? We will see the National Mortgage Bank working well. So all these are physical policy that should drive growth. Like I said, the monetary side have done their best. So for us to see those reality, for us from now to 2027, if at all there's governance in 2026, I think the current administration need to do a lot.
So if I get you, sir, you're saying we just have 3 months to fix Nigeria.
Well,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying, because definitely that's what it is. Because after this, I mean, when we get next year, 2026,
yeah,
I mean, it has started in 2025. This is the first time. No, ordinarily, before we begin to see electoral issues from, it's normally 2026. But for the first time in the history of this country, we are seeing electoral campaign start in NX. And that tells you who is in power is a politician. So the politics are taking center stage. So that's why I'm saying that what we are achieving now is largely driven by monetary policy, not by physical side. So because as we stand now, the physical side are more concerned about the next election than what is happening.
Anyway, thank you so much. That's all the time we have. I have been speaking with Mokhtar Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Mokhtar. Thank you so much for your insights and have a good evening. All right. So growth is more than numbers we have seen. It's more, than a percentage on the government chart. Real growth is when a farmer can afford fertilizer, when a market woman can sell at a fair price, when graduates find decent jobs, and when families can feed without fear of hunger. Now, at 4.23%, Nigeria may be growing on paper, but you see, the people are asking, when will that growth show in my life? As we look ahead, the challenge for leaders is not just to sustain economic figures, but to build an economy of dignity, opportunity, and trust. Because until Nigerians feel the benefits in their pockets, every statistics remains just that, a stat, Anyway, that's all we have today. Thank you so much for listening. Before I go, of course, you have to go subscribe on our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. You can drop your comment there. Follow us on all social media engagements. Remember to like, share, comment, invite your friends and family to watch us and follow us. And before we go, if you missed our quote for tonight, here it is. It says, true prosperity, is measured by well-being and not just numbers. My name is Chioma Kalu, and this has been Waste Prime Time. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.